We're in the final phases of this van conversion, and our customer's coming to pick this van up in about a week. In this video, I'm going to share what we do in the final phase of the van conversion. This is what we call the punch list phase. There are certain parts of the van conversion process that we saved until the very end to make sure that things go smoothly, quickly, and to make sure that our fit and finish is super tight. And make sure you stay till the end of this video because I'll share a tool that we've developed that helps DIYers stay on track and follow a good sequence in their own van conversion. So if you're doing a van conversion, you're thinking about doing a van conversion, or you just dream of doing a van conversion, then this video is definitely for you. So let's get into it. So let's step up into the van and I'll show you some of the final things that we do in the van conversion process. So number one are all of the cabinet faces, especially the lowers. Now, our total van conversion process takes us about 4 to 5 months. We don't put these cabinet faces on until just a few days before delivery. They were painted several weeks ago. We like to let them really cure before we put them in. And then also the biggest reason that we don't put them in until the end is you can see it's a really tight space. And when we're doing the final things, it's really easy to come in here and with something in your pocket, scratch a cabinet or drop something and have to repaint. And because we spray everything, it's hard to do touch up without taking it completely out and respraying it. So that's probably number one for us, is waiting to put all the drawer faces and the cabinet door faces on until the very end. You can see on this side, our bench, we still don't have the drawer face or the drawer box in there. And the top of this bench, we just barely put on yesterday. We don't put this bench in until the very end because it just tends to get in the way. If you have something going in the slider, if possible, you know, it may be a galley, which is a little bit harder to wait until the end. But if you have a bench or something smaller, it's nice to put that in right at the end so that you can climb in and out and get things in and out without having it in the way. So you can see, you know, we've done wiring in here. We've got all the wiring in here for our electric awning, an outlet, lights, and it's just easier to do without the top on the bench. So there's the outside of that bench. You can see it's just easier to wire that all up without the top on, so we wait until the very end for that as well. Now the next thing that we wait on is the bed. A lot of DIYers do very early on, and sometimes that's for a good reason. Sometimes they want to get out and be able to use their van before it's completely finished, and so they need a bed in order to do that. And if you're in that situation, then it's perfectly fine to do that. But for efficiency, we find that it's really, really nice to just leave the bed rails, the bed platform, however you're doing it, out until the very end. So you can see here, we've got our wire trough, which I've talked about in previous videos. This is how we get all of our wiring. And if we have any plumbing going across the van, this is where we route all of that through the trough. And then we've got bed rail bars, which are extruded aluminum 15 series that sit on top of our mechanical boxes. And then we'll have a bed platform. This is one side of the platform. We do it in 3 pieces, 1 piece over each of the mechanical boxes and then 1 piece in the middle. These will be cut on our CNC router with holes in them to make them lighter and also to allow the mattress to get airflow and breathe. But we're just fitting them in right now. So we don't put the bed rails or the platform in until the last few days. We're still needing to do a lot of work in this area of the van up until the very end. And so we definitely hold off on that. So if you can, if it's at all possible and you're not going to be needing to use your van for sleeping in, we recommend holding off on the whole bed system until the very end, so you're not having to climb over it. The next area that we hold off is the countertop. We just put the countertop in yesterday, and this van is 2 or 3 days from wrapping up. So we wait again until the very end for that. And a couple of reasons for that. One is it's a lot easier to put all your drawer faces on with the countertop off. On your drawer faces, you're typically screwing them in from the back. If you have the countertop out, you can just take all the drawers out, put the first one in, reach in from the back, screw the face in, put the next drawer box in, reach down, put the face in. And this allows you to get all of your drawers lined up and the spacing in between them really tight. Because otherwise, if you're trying to get these positioned, pull them out, and then drill these screws in from the back, it can be really hard to get everything lined up properly. So it's just a lot easier if you can do it with the countertop out. So then once we get the countertop in, then we're able to connect the sink and the drain. So you can see under here, we've got our, you can see our water tank, our water heater, water filter, and then all of our connections up here for the sink. We don't connect any of those till the very end. And then we've got this drain line. This drain line has been routed and here for a couple of months, but we won't actually hook it up until now, because now we've got our sink in. We'll use this barb fitting and hose clamps and cut off this hose and connect it to the drain line coming out of the sink. So that's another thing we wait until the very end on. So once we get the countertop in, then we go ahead and finish our trim. You can see the trim for this window that is going around the window. And then we also finish the shiplap. So I've talked in previous videos about how we do our shiplap, and we bring it down. We just brought it down to right here, and we didn't finish this piece that goes down to the floor. Same with over here, we brought it down to right here to the top of above the bed, what we call the bulkhead of the bed, and we didn't finish these pieces. This section, as well as this section over here, we just finished those yesterday. And the reason for that is once we get our countertop in, we can make this fit nice and tight. We routed out this little space. We can get all of this to fit really nice and tight and clean.
Hey guys, do you enjoy the outdoors but planning meals has got you down? Whether it's space, weight, refrigeration, or prep, healthy, quick, and easy, delicious meals can be a real challenge. More and more people are turning to Thrive Life freeze-dried meals because they're lightweight, need no refrigeration, have no preservatives, and taste amazing. Just add hot water and you've got a meal in less than 10 minutes. With breakfast, lunch, and dinner options, Thrive has got you covered. Check out the link in description for more info.
So if we had already had all the shiplap in, it would have been a lot more difficult to fit the countertop in and make it nice and tight. There are always unexpected things in a van. We have started using this new sink, and it's just a little bit larger than the previous sinks that we did. And because it's a little bit larger, it set this faucet back about an inch further than normal. And we didn't realize this until we got it in here, but it would have hit this window trim. So we had to kind of scoop out this little part of the window trim right here. But it was really easy because we didn't have the countertop in and we didn't have this trim piece in. We were able to take this trim piece out, fix it, repaint it, and get it in here. So now we've got about an 1/8 of an inch space between the faucet and this trim piece. But if everything had already been in place and then we went to install the faucet, it would have been a really big pain to get that to fit. We would have had to tear out the window trim, possibly remake it. And so it just saved us a lot of time by assembling all of this right at the end. Now, same thing over on this side. This shiplap that we held off until the end because we want to get a really tight fit here, and we don't actually want it to touch. We want a little bit of a gap. That helps avoid squeaking. You can see there's about a 1/16 of an inch gap all the way down this side. One little tip is any panels that you have, for example, this panel's not in yet, so rather than bringing this shiplap all the way over and then trying to butt this piece up, it's not a straight, these walls are not straight, they're curved, and having to scribe this piece, it works out a lot better to have your piece go in and then bring your wall up to it, and you can leave yourself a really nice little gap there to avoid the squeak. And so you definitely want to have this piece cut and slid in to get the spacing. So that's why we hold off. We only bring our shiplap down to about here, and we wait until we get all the bench and this piece and the bulkhead and everything in place so we can make a really nice clean finish down and not need to put trim up. So a lot of times you'll have to put trim because things don't fit really tightly and you maybe don't have really straight lines. We used to put trim here, we used to put trim in a lot of places, but we found that if we hold off and then fit everything in at this, together, put this piece, and then bring our shiplap right up to it, we're able to really avoid having to use trim in a lot of areas. There are very few places that we put trim anymore because we're able to get our walls really tight. Same thing here. We were able to, once we got this galley in and this panel in, able to just make a nice 1/16 of an inch gap all the way down the side, again, to avoid the squeaks and rattles. You can even see maybe there at the top where the shiplap is just cut out a little bit for the countertop. There's a little 1/16 of an inch gap there. Those little things, if you have them touching, will create squeaks in the van. Now the last place that we hold off on doing the shiplap is this little area of the van. So you can see this is on the driver's side. We come back and then we've got the end of our galley, and the reason we end it a little bit short and don't come all the way to the end is, one, so we have enough space that we can finish it off really cleanly, but also the van tapers in a little bit at the end, and if you bring your upper all the way back, it's gonna make it not parallel to the lines of the van. So it's going to push this part out just a little bit, like maybe a 1/2 inch, and make the whole thing out of line with your ceiling. So we stop a little bit short, and then right at the end we fit these pieces in and we scribe them. You can see we've got our 1/16 of an inch gap right here. We've got a nice clean line going all the way up the wall, so we don't have to put any trim there. And then we'll just finish our ceiling. We'll put that last piece of the ceiling here and across to finish this area out. So this is one area that we hold off until the very end to make sure we get this right. Again, we want this panel in first, and then we'll bring our shiplap just up to it and leave a little bit of a gap. We don't want to put our wall in first and then have to butt this up to it, because this really has some curvature, and it would be a lot more difficult to scribe this piece to fit in, to butt up to the shiplap, and it wouldn't look as clean as having that nice clean line right there. Now the way that we do our vans, most of them, especially in the Warren 44s, is we do these van speed capsules. You can see right here, we finished this all off with marathon fabric. These pieces, this piece right here, you can see the screws. We can take that out, and all of our wiring for our, that's going up to the ceiling, the wiring for our S-bar heater, our servo screen, our lights, and all that are behind this. So we can pull that panel off and get access to all these wires if we need to. Same thing on the driver's side. We've got wiring for switches and the water heater and different things like that. We can pull that panel off and get access to all that. So we'll have trim going around these capsules similar to the trim that's going around the crew window. Will also fit around this, but we don't want to make that trim until we've got our countertop in, until we've got our these trim pieces inside the capsules, and then we have our bed platform right set in so that we know exactly how far down to bring the trim and stop it about 1/8 of an inch above the platform, again, because we don't want it touching or rubbing. We want it to be just above. So we hold off. Those are made now, but we don't put those in until we've got the bed platform in. Same thing on the passenger side. We're going to have it the piece that comes down stop just short of the bed platform, and then in the front it'll stop just short of that bulkhead. So we need to have all of those different pieces in place before we put those trim pieces in, because those trim pieces really help with the fit and finish of the van and the overall look, making sure that everything is really tight. Now, once we've done those things, we're pretty much at the end of the van conversion. We go through a checklist just to test things, make sure all the electrical, the plumbing are all working correctly, all the switches, all the lights. But one final thing that I really recommend doing is getting up on top of the van, checking all of your bolts, making sure that all of those are tight on your solar panels, roof rack, awnings, things like that, and then checking all the wiring going in and make sure everything is sealed with lap sealant or whatever other type of sealant you're using. And then we get underneath the van and we check the entire undercarriage for any penetrations that we've made, making sure that we've filled all of the holes. And then we spray everything with an undercoat spray that prevents rust, that is similar to what the factory puts on. It's made by Rust-Oleum. And we spray any screws or anything that's come through the van just one last time to make sure that everything is sealed up and prevent any rust. Now, I mentioned if we stayed till the end of this video, I would share this tool that we've come out with to help DIYers in their own van conversions. And this is what we call our van build sequence spreadsheet. And it's the process that we use in building our vans to make sure that we get that really nice, tight fit and finish to the van so that we don't have delays because we've done something that towards the end of the van turns out that it's in the way and we have to pull it out in order to do something else. And it just allows us to be a lot more efficient in our conversions. And a lot of DIYers asked if we would make this spreadsheet available. And so we've gone through, modified it so that it's a little bit more generic and so that it doesn't use maybe some of the trade tech terminology that we use within our shop so that it would make sense for DIYers. So that's now available on our website. So there's a link down below if you'd like to check that out, and I'll also put a link up here. So if you're doing your own van conversion, or maybe you're just interested in the whole van building process and van life, van products, tools, tips and tricks, we've got tons of other videos on the channel. We'd love to have you subscribe. And if you got value out of this video, go ahead and smash that like button, and we'll see you in the next video. Jeff with Thrive Vans, thrive on. See ya.